Hello, welcome to MACA 2200 or the Adobe After Effects class. This is the first movie in After Effects, so a lot of things are going to seem odd. Obviously everything is new. So let me begin this movie by showing you the PDF file first, and I'm going to try to stick and get through this very quickly and stick to each step. So I may not have it on screen, but I will try to announce it. Let's start by showing you the entire movie. And I've made my screen resolution very large because After Effects windows are real small, and the text in them doesn't show up unless you really make the screen resolution large. But here's the first movie. Let me back it up to the first part. Notice it has a fade in and a fade out, both in audio and video. And I realize it's a silly movie, but it's just meant for showing position and how to deal with motion paths and JPEG files and of the such. So here it is. So what you saw was a fade in and a fade out. What you saw there started the motion from the left side, worked your way across the right hand side. It also had synchronization of audio and video, as you can see and hear now. Okay, and that synchronization was consistent all the way through the movie, plus there was a background file that was playing to give it a little life. And then, of course, it faded out at the end, which I want all your movies to do that. I want all your movies to have a fade in and a fade out. It doesn't have to be from black, but let's just have a fade in and a fade out on every single thing you do for me, okay? So let's start with the PDF file. It says to open After Effects, so I'm going to open it, and then you read along with me on step number 1 as I actually open After Effects. I have After Effects open, and it's a blank project as is stated in number 1. It says go to Composition and New Composition. In the composition, let's name this one Assembly Comp. And let's make sure that we're at 960 by 540, but the preset that I want you to choose, and I'll go backwards here, but the preset is HDV/HDTV 720 and 29.97, or almost 30 frames per second is your default. Now that comes out to 1280 by 720. What I would like to do is to make sure lock aspect ratio is selected and change to 1280 to 960, and then it'll make the other dimension, the height dimension, automatically 540. Let's make the duration 15 seconds. Now to do 15 seconds, look down here how you have 00 for frames and 15 for seconds. Then you have the minutes, and then you have the hours. But what I'm going to do is type in 1500 to show you that if you type it in that configuration, After Effects will recognize it as 15 seconds. Now look over here. I realize it's large, but look over here in my timeline how I have 0 to 15 seconds. You can zoom in on any particular amount that you want to in seconds. Look at how I've zoomed in to the first 5 seconds of what was 15 seconds. Now let me circle something here. Look at this bar right here. This is indicative of this window from left to right going this way is left to right going this way. Now if I slide this along the 15 seconds, now I'm showing all of about 10 to 15 seconds, and you can see how I can manually widen this. I can manually widen it down here by grabbing this and just moving it to the one side, okay? Or I can, let me see if I can describe that. Okay, moving it to the one side, or I can click the little mountain or click the bigger mountain so you can see everything. Now what I've done there is I've made it so small you can see the frames inside each second. But let me extend this out so all 15 seconds show. This bottom bar is for what they call RAM preview, and we'll discuss that. How I can set the RAM preview to preview any particular part of my composition or my file, and then when you actually view the audio and video, and that's called ramming, it only views the section between the blue markers. But for now I'll extend that all the way from the home key. The home key is on this side, the end key is on this side, okay? Now let's start by reading the file. If you read up there, it says in number 2, open the Jump project folder, but it says make this smaller. So grab the bottom right hand corner and make this much smaller. Let me minimize this PDF file. Move this over from the project window so I have both the asset folder opened and my project window opened. And let me extend this out just a little bit more. Sometimes it takes a little bit to grab that. Okay, great. And now what I want to do is, in order, as it says in number 2, let's drag the MPSD file over to the project window. Let's simply let it be editable layer styles, leave it as a composition, and click OK. Now if you read further, it asks you to pick up the M composition. That's that little icon there is a composition. Pick it up and drop it into the trash there because we don't need that. We need the M layer folder that had all 3 Photoshop layers in it. Okay. Now the next one says command click the wood. Hold the command key and click the landscape and drag those over here. Now the next bullet actually says make a folder, call it audio, hit the return key, and by the way, to rename something, and I say it right there in number 2, click on anything you want to, hit the return key, go ahead and rename it and hit the return key to accept. Okay, now I'm going to toggle open the audio for now, but I'm going to click on the low boing, command click on the jump, and command click on the high boing, let go and drag them to the audio folder and let go and let them actually come into the file. Now that is all the files that we need for this particular exercise. So let's hit Command S to save the file, and we're going to save it right into the same asset folder right there. So I'm going to click to that asset folder right there. Let me make sure I got the right one. Yes, project asset folder, and I'll make sure it is the right one. Okay, it's the next one. I'm glad I did that. And let's go, just for me, you go first name, last name, jump project. I'm going to go movie tutorial. And let's click OK. Let's save the file and then save after every good thing you do. As a matter of fact, there it is right there if you can see it. Now let's click. Let's make this occupy most of this screen. And then I want to do it slow so I don't make my movie production application quit on me. Now I'm going to magnify this screen. This is the television screen. There are several ways to magnify it. You can choose the pop-out menu here. You can use the scroll bar on your mouse like I'm doing right now, or you can use the period or comma keys. We kind of refer to them as the greater than or the less than signs if you look at your keyboard, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on fit up to 100% for the movie project so you all can see the window as large as possible. Now I'm going to collapse the audio folder, hit Command S to save the file once again, and let's start immediately on to number 3. It says to drag the landscape JPEG into the timeline. When that happens, you can see how the landscape JPEG actually becomes a file. Whoops, I did that wrong. Let me Command Z back. As a matter of fact, I'm glad I did it. Look at my timeline over here, how I had it on the end key, the END of the file. Now I'm going to hit Command Z to redo that, but what you want to do is hit the home key. Whenever you drag something down from the project window into the timeline, you want your file at the home key. Now I'll do it once and then I'll make a mistake. I'll drag it down correctly and I'll say yes, that's exactly how I wanted it. Look at how it came in and started at the home key. If you had the timeline here and it would have come to right there as the home, don't panic. Just hit the home key or manually drag this over to 0, 0. Click somewhere where I'm clicking and hold the Shift key and you can just snap it into the home key. All right, let's hit Command S to save the file. It says that you want the position. Now watch what I do. I'm going to click P for position here. Check it out at 480 by 270. Look at number 3. It says 480 by 270. So I'm going to hit S for scale. If I wanted both position and scale to show up here as attributes, I would hit S for scale. I'll do it again. And Shift P for position. So add the Shift key for any second or third or fourth one or fifth one or so on. Okay, so now I have them both showing. It says that it wants me to maintain my link. So don't click the link away, Brian. But let's make this 90%, so I'm shrinking that to a perfect size. Now let's compress or collapse that. Hit Command S to save the file, and then drag the wood into there, into the timeline. So make sure you're at the home key, grab the wood JPEG, drag it down to here to the timeline, and now it wants the wood above the landscape, not below the landscape. Now I'm going to magnify the screen, demagnify the screen a little bit so you all can see that I'm going to actually make these anchors on each side, the bounding box for this bigger, of course, because I don't want to see an edge of the wood. So it says to press S on the wood, deselect the X and Y link so I can do it independently, and it wants me to put in 120. Now I'll show you only once though. You can manually drag that number to 120. Look at how it's going up there. Manually drag it to 120, or I'll Command Z back, or you can click and put in 120 and hit the return key. All right. Now, usually that's faster if you know your input numbers. If not, it's faster to do it the other way and do a test. Now, this one goes to 80. I can hit 80, hit the return key. It's exactly where I want it. Now, let me hit Shift P for position because it wants me to place this exactly at 480 by 550. So it's already at 480. Let's go 550. Now what is shooting at 550 is the center anchor point of this file. Okay, let me hit Command S to save the file and shoot this back. Whoops. Okay, wait a minute. Shoot this back up here to fit up to 100%. And one more Command S to make sure. It says that it wants me to collapse on the end of number 4, collapse both wood and landscape layers. Then it wants me to click the visibility off for a moment on both of those. Because when we play with when we manipulate the red pepper, we want to see the red pepper only. Now you might have to play this next part a couple of times, okay? Because what we want to do is put the anchor point at the very bottom tip of the red pepper so that when it scales from the bottom up, or when it's positioned from the toe of the pepper, not the middle of the pepper. So let me open the M Layers project folder, drag the red pepper to the top of the file. Look at how the anchor point is way up here. Now, I'm going to manually do what it says. First it says if you read number 5 to set the scale at 70%. So I'm going to click scale, leave the link icon, and make it be 70%. Now I'm going to get a little bit closer on this so we can see it, and then the space bar is the hand. I can actually, whoops, let me Command Z back. The space bar is the hand, and I want to move that up on screen. What I actually want you to see is that let me go like this. If I use the space bar for the hand, I can move this window around, okay? I wasn't moving the file in the window, I was moving the window in your viewability. So let me go make it a little bit bigger so you can see it really well. And now it wants me to, on number 6, it says hold the cursor over the X position while looking at the window. It's going to be about 57. So if I click A, notice how X is 131. Now, if I manually drag this to about 57, don't go so fast, Brian, or if I would have just typed in click 57, look at how it would have positioned this directly above the bottom. Now, I'm going to make this one, which is the Y coordinate, I'm going to make that one 372. Now watch how I can move this up right to the bottom and do a check. Now I'm even going to magnify the screen once more to get this in. Let me put the resolution at full here, the resolution at full, and now you can see exactly how that is just about right. I'm at 371. Let me put it at 372. And hit the return key. Now look at how exactly I have my anchor point at the bottom of the pepper. Let's demagnify the screen. Okay. Now what it wants me to do is to position the pepper on the wood layer. Now if you read number 7, it says demagnify the window to 50%. It says turn on the visibility for the wood. That's done. Now I'm going to click the red pepper and click the P for position. So what it wants me to do is it wants me to make the position of the pepper so it touches the wood. It says hold the shift key let me read that totally. Press the home key to set the time exactly at 00. So the home key, if you look at the numeric keyboard, it's to the left of the numeric keyboard in the center. That's the home key. All right. Change the Y position to 440. So X and Y, let's go to 440. And now I'm going to get close on that again. Hold the space bar down and let's make sure that that's exactly where we want it. So let me click away from everything. Let me click down to the landscape here, and yes, I have that exactly where I want it. If I didn't have it, I would take the position of this and move it up or down by dragging on the Y coordinate until I was where I wanted. But I'm fine, that's where I want it. So now I'll go like that, and I'll just hold the space bar to put this right on the screen. And now it says, if you continue to read on number 7, it says hold shift key and drag the pepper until it's approximately -50 on X on the position. Now let me move this over so I show you. If I click the pepper, hold the shift key, grab it and hold the shift key after I grab it, I can slide this all the way off the camera, and now if you look down here at X, it's at -50. Now at the 00 mark, I want to memorize its position. So if there's no keyframe set, you click the stopwatch that I'm circling right here, and you click it, and now you see the little diamond that's formed. That's a keyframe. Now all I have to do is move this over to the right-hand side after. Don't move it first and then move the pepper. You want to take this and move it all the way to the end key. So what it says here is, okay, we have to go to number 8. Number 8 says, if you go to page 2, with the red pepper layer selected, go Option Shift J. Now let me, if you look at my screen here, this yellow assembly comp right below in the timeline, if I click that, I get a go to time window. I don't want to always have to click that to get that window, so the quick key is Option Shift J. And I can type in exactly what it said. If I type in 1000, that is 10 frames, 0 seconds, and in this case it sends me right to the 10-second mark. Now I can grab the pepper, slide it all the way over, hold the space bar, move this over a little bit, grab the pepper, hold the shift key, and keep on looking until that number for X gets to be 1000. There it is right down there. Now I could have just typed in 1000. Now I want you to look at something. I didn't have to set the second key that I'm circling right there. Soon as you let go of the mouse, it set the second key. Let me hit Command S to save the file. Now, I'm going to move this in the middle so you can see. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to RAM preview that's what it says to do too. It says in number 9, let's RAM preview the first 10 seconds. So what I want to do, actually it doesn't say it yet, but just go with me. It says it in number 9. That's fine. So I'm going to set the RAM to about 11 seconds. Look where I'm clicking. In the time controls window, I can go and click this button right there or hit 0 on the numerical keyboard. Now look at how the pepper is ramming for the very first time. Of course it's going slow. The first time is not real-time movement. The second time is. Now I can see the movement. Now go to number 9. This is what it says. It says it wants me to go to 2, 4, 6, and 8 because that's going to be the downside of each motion path. If I click this, you can see that the motion path of the pepper is at, just watch the red pepper. There's 2, there's 4 as it hits the bottom right there, 4. There is 6 over here. Well, I'm not grabbing that very well. 6 over here, and then 8 right there. So at the downside of each one of those turns, we have to memorize its position. So let's go Option Shift J, type in, whoops, click to your After Effects file, Brian. Option Shift J, 200 for 2 seconds. Now click this button between the keyframes, between the navigators. Look where I'm circling. Click that little diamond right there to memorize that position in time. Now Option Shift J, 400, return key, click the Add Remove Keyframe button. Okay, go Option Shift J, 600, return key, click the Add Remove button. Option Shift J 800, return key, click that button, and now I have it memorized over time. Even though it doesn't look like it's done anything, it certainly has. Let me hit Command S to save the file. What it's done is it's memorized those bottom positions. Now let's make the top positions. So what it wants in number 11 is it wants me to go to 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 and move up the Y position to 240 each time. So let's just get that done. Here's number 9. Option Shift J 100, return key. Now take this number and put in 240. Hit the return key. Now what I'm going to do, so I don't have to type it every time, is I'm going to click on it again and hit Command C and hit the return key. Now all I have to do is click that number and hit Command V to paste. So let me go Option Shift J 300, return key, click the Y coordinate, Command V to paste, hit the return key, Option Shift J 500, hit the return key, click the Y coordinate, Command V to paste, return key. Option Shift J 700, return key, click the Y coordinate, Command V to paste, and then hit the return key to memorize. Now let's go Option Shift J at the last one, 900, hit the return key, click the Y coordinate, Command V to paste, and hit the return key, Command S to save the file. Now one more time we're going to ram it, but what it's going to look like is it's going to look like the pepper is on a roller coaster. It's not going to look like it has true real motion. So what I want to do is ram it by hitting the 0 on the numerical keyboard. Well, look at the screen. That's not real motion. That's not real at all. So I'm going to hit the space bar to stop that. Put my cursor at about 5 seconds so I can see all of the motion path. Doesn't have to be exactly at 5 seconds. I don't really care. So let's go and read number 12. Number 12 said, actually did number 12 with you. Now number 13 says, set the time. Let's actually bring number 13 on screen. Number 13 says, set the time to 5 seconds so the whole motion path is visible. Press the G key, makes sense, right? Press the G key for the pen tool, and we're going to, just like in Illustrator, convert the bottom keyframes so they will have no handlebars. So let me minimize this. Watch what I do here now. This is very cool. Let me hit G for the pen tool. After I click the file, G for the pen tool. I'm going to hold the Option key and click at the 0 mark, at the 2 mark, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Now look at how the bottom has all straight points, yet the top has curved points. Now let me ram it again after I hit Command S to save the file. Now look at how it has better motion, like it's bouncing. Okay, I'll move my cursor out of the way. It's bouncing right there. But now let's fix that motion. So I tap the space bar and let's read. It says on number 14, while the timeline is still at 5 seconds so I can see the whole path, widen each of the top ones because it's not wide enough. So here's the longest thing that's going to take me, and I'll talk while it's doing it. Try to widen it and keep it consistent. Look at how I'm holding the Command key while I'm in the pen tool. So go to the G key. The G key is the pen tool. Hold the Command key for the selection tool. And now you can sit here and widen these to try to get them stereotypically. Whoops, I missed it. Sorry. Click again. Don't panic. Just I clicked a little bit away from it. That's okay. It's not a bad thing. And let's go like this. It's not like I can copy or paste a keyframe in to do this. And there is no copy or paste on each handlebar. So you have to at least use your pen skills to do this. Now that I've widened that out, let's hit Command S to save the file and read, keep on going on number 15. I tell you to view the graph before we're going to do something. Now, I want you to see something. I'm going to hit the ram, the 0 button again. Now look, it's ramming. Look at how the motion, there's no gravity, there's no physics in his bounce. Look at how it's the same speed. On the way down, he should be speeding up. On the way up, he should be slowing down. So what we need to do is to set that, to make that more believable. Now, this button that I'm circling right there is the graph editor. I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see the whole graph. Look at the graph editor, which is a graph of velocity. All of these keyframes are moving at 200 pixels per second. What I want to do is at the tops of all of these, I want to slow down the keyframes. I want them to go more towards 0. So here's how we accomplish the rest of number 15. What I want to do is click the graph editor. I want to expand this out so I can see just a little bit. And look at what I'm doing. I'm sliding this out so I can get the whole RAM area in my viewing timeline. So if you want to do that, you can just grab this little bar right there and do it just like I did. Now what I want to do is I want to click the first keyframe at 1 second, hold the shift key and click at 3, 5, 7, and 9. And now what we're going to do is we're going to hold the cursor over one of those, and we're going to go to something called Keyframe Assistant. So if you right-hand click and go to Keyframe Assistant, we can add an easy ease, which is another word for slowing it down as the motion path approaches every keyframe you have selected. So now that I've done that, look at how the actual diamonds have changed into a little hourglass shape. And if I view the graph editor, look at how this is not a motion path. This is a velocity curve. Actually, look at the high points up here. The high points are actually approaching 0 pixels per second. Actually, they're on 0 pixels per second. And if you read this, I actually don't think that they should be at 0 pixels per second. See what I said right down here where I go, let's speed up the velocity a little bit? So what we're going to do is we're going to speed them up to 50 pixels per second. Now, the outgoing velocity will automatically match. So what I want to do is click OK when I'm all finished. So let's go like this with the keyframes still selected. Let me go back to the non-graph editor. Let me right-hand click while they're all selected. If you deselect, shift-click them all again. Right-hand click and go to keyframe velocity. In the velocity, leave the influence at 33% and change the pixels from 0 pixels per second to 50. Then click continuous, then click OK. Now let's go back to the graph editor. In the graph editor, look at how they have raised up from 0 and they are all at 50 pixels. So when he's at the down part of the curve, he is speeding up. He's speeding up as he gets to the down part, but as he gets to the high part, he's slowing down. It's actually the opposite of what you, this is an actual motion curve going vertically. This certainly is not. It's simply a velocity graph. So let me hit Command S to save the file. Let's click this graph so that we display the timeline. Let's hit 0 on the numerical keyboard, and you can see now how he slows down at the top of every curve. Now we're finished with the first movie. What I would like to do is to bend him and rotate him and squish and squash him. Now let's stop this. Let's go back to the movie and show you what I really want to do to him. Now the change here, watch how he not only rotates 15 degrees one way and 15 degrees the other way, more like a realistic Pepper going on a motion path, which was really a stupid thing to say. But watch how he squishes and squashes. When he hits the ground, he squashes. So here, he's going to go there. He squashes down after he hits, and we now have that all squishy squashed and whatever, and that's what we're going to do. So I'll be back, and we'll do that.